My golden child brother sold my rare K-pop album collection to buy a new laptop, so I sold it on eBay and kept the money. I've been collecting K-pop albums since I was 14, not just any albums, rare limited edition, signed ones. My room looked like a K-pop museum with display shelves everywhere. My prized possession, a signed BTS Love Yourself tier album from their 2018 world tour. All 7 members signed it in different colored pens, worth $10,000 alone. I waited 6 hours in freezing rain to get it, skipped school, got grounded for a week. My brother Jake always mocked my obsession, called it weird, said I was wasting money on pictures of Asian boys, would blast country music when I played BTS just to annoy me, but he knew exactly how much they were worth. Here's where it gets infuriating. Jake's the golden child. When he needed a car for college, parents bought him a Toyota Camry. When I needed one, they said, girls don't need cars as much. When he wanted to join an expensive fraternity, they paid the fees. When I wanted to go to a BTS concert, they said it was throwing money away. He's been failing computer science, barely maintaining a 2.0 GPA. Suddenly needs money for a gaming laptop for his studies. Claims it's for programming, but really wants it for gaming. Parents said no for once. So, this genius decides to fund it by selling my collection while I'm at work. Came home to find my display shelf destroyed. Over half my albums gone. My heart stopped. Found his eBay account, MusicLover47. He'd been selling my albums for weeks. The signed BTS album sold for $300, way under value, along with other albums underpriced. 3 years collecting, over $5,000 invested, all gone for his gaming laptop. Confronted him when he got home with his new Alienware box, grinning like he'd won the lottery. Jake, where are my albums? What albums? Playing dumb. Showed him his eBay account. His face went white. I needed the money. It's just K-pop stuff. You can buy new ones. Just K-pop stuff? That BTS album was signed by all 7 members. You can't replace signed albums. Ran to my parents. Surely theft is theft, right? Wrong. He needed the laptop for school. You can buy more albums. That BTS album was irreplaceable. Maybe it's time to grow out of this phase. Focus on real things like your brother's education, Dad said. They'll never see my stuff as valuable because it's not their interests. But Jake's gaming laptop, that's education. Jake's precious new laptop sat on his desk, still in warranty, worth $2,000. Waited until he left for class. Packed up the laptop, charger, gaming mouse, keyboard, everything. Posted on eBay with detailed photos. Listed $1,500 below retail for quick sale. Description: selling due to family emergency. Need gone as soon as possible. Sold within 90 minutes. But I didn't stop there. I used the money to buy back 4 of my albums. Messaged buyers, explained the situation, offered profit to sell back. The BTS buyer felt so bad they sold it back for exactly what they paid. Said they were ARMY too, and understood how devastating this was. Found 3 other albums and bought them back at higher prices. Still had $400 left over. When Jake got home and saw his empty desk, he went ballistic. Where's my laptop? What laptop? I just see empty desk space. You stole it. Prove it. You used my money from my stolen albums to buy it. He ran to parents screaming. They threatened to call police on me. I pulled out screenshots of his eBay account and bank statements. Great idea. Let's call them. I have evidence of actual theft. Wonder how that arrest record will look, especially since you're on academic probation and one more incident gets you expelled. Dead silence. Jake's face went pale. Parents looked at each other nervously. Jake's expression shifted to pity. You really didn't notice? I've been taking stuff since February. You have like 40 albums on that shelf. Had. He shrugged. I'd take one every few weeks when you were at work. Sold them. Used the money. My mind raced through months of thinking I'd misplaced things. He walked toward the garage. I followed. He popped the trunk of his car. Inside were boxes. Dozens of them. Filled with empty album cases. Just the cases. He'd kept them like trophies. And I was staring at 6 months of theft I'd been too blind to see. I couldn't move. My hands were shaking so bad I had to shove them in my pockets. I picked up one of the cases with trembling fingers. 17s and Ode, the special sapphire blue version they only released in Korea. I'd saved for 2 months working double shifts at the coffee shop to import it. The case was completely empty. Not even the photocard booklet inside. Just plastic and air. Why? My voice came out hollow, barely above a whisper. Why would you keep these? Jake leaned against the car, arms crossed like he was explaining something obvious to a child, like I was stupid for not understanding. Evidence. In case you tried to make me look bad, you know, claim I was stealing or whatever. I documented everything. Took pictures of you tearing your room apart looking for stuff, wrote down dates and times. My stomach dropped. You what? He pulled out his phone, scrolled for a second, then turned it toward me. There I was in probably 15 different photos, taken through my bedroom doorway. Me checking under my bed, me going through my closet, me sitting on my floor with my head in my hands, literally on the verge of tears thinking I was going crazy. The timestamps went back months. February, March, April, May, all the way to last week. Mom and Dad told me to keep records, he said, sliding his phone back in his pocket like it was no big deal. They were worried you might have some kind of breakdown about it. Wanted documentation in case you, I don't know, needed help or something. Professional help. The air left my lungs. Everything went fuzzy at the edges. They knew? Well, yeah. Whose idea do you think this was? My legs felt weak. I grabbed onto the car to steady myself. What do you mean, whose idea? Jake actually rolled his eyes. Oh, come on. You think I just randomly decided to start selling your stuff? Mom and Dad suggested it months ago. Said it would be good for both of us. I turned and walked back inside. My vision was tunneling. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. Mom and Dad were in the kitchen whispering to each other. They went quiet the second they saw me. I pulled up the photos I'd just taken of the empty cases on my phone and set it on the counter between them. My hand was still shaking. How long? Dad glanced at the screen, then at Mom. He didn't even try to deny it, didn't look surprised or caught, just tired. We thought if the albums disappeared gradually, you'd naturally start to let go of the obsession. It seemed kinder than forcing you to get rid of them all at once. Kinder? The word tasted like poison in my mouth. Mom reached for my hand. I pulled back so fast I knocked over the salt shaker. Honey, Jake needed money for school expenses. This solved two problems. You were too attached to material things, and he was struggling financially. We were helping both of you. Helping? My voice was rising. I didn't care anymore. You've been helping Jake steal from me for months and you think that's parenting? Don't be dramatic, Dad said, and his tone was the same one he used when I was 12 and cried about not making the volleyball team. Dismissive. They're just albums. You'll understand when you're older that family comes first, and sometimes that means sacrifice. How long have you known about this? I asked again, slower this time, pronouncing each word carefully. Mom sighed like I was exhausting her, like I was the problem here. Jake came to us about 8 months ago, said he was having trouble keeping up with expenses. We suggested he could sell some of your albums since you had so many. You'd never notice a few missing here and there. 8 months. I'd been going insane for 8 months thinking I was losing my mind, thinking I had early onset Alzheimer's or something. I'd even looked up symptoms online. We told him which ones to take, Dad added, like he was explaining how to organize a closet. Casual, matter of fact. The ones that looked less important, and when to take them so you wouldn't catch him. He'd text us before listing them so we could make sure the prices were reasonable. Reasonable, I repeated numbly. And honestly, Mom continued, using that patient voice she reserved for when she thought I was being unreasonable, when some of them didn't sell for as much as Jake needed, your father transferred him money to make up the difference. We weren't going to let our son struggle when we had the means to help. The room tilted. I gripped the counter. You gave him money on top of my stolen albums? We gave him support, Dad corrected. That's what parents do. That's what family does. Jake walked in from the garage, wiping his hands on his jeans like he'd just finished working on the car. He looked almost bored, annoyed even, like this whole conversation was wasting his time. You want to know the best part? He said, and there was this weird edge to his voice, almost proud. I'm not even struggling with school expenses. Mom's face tightened. Jake, she's going to find out anyway, he said. Might as well rip the Band-Aid off. He turned to me. I'm $12,000 in debt, sports betting mostly. Some crypto investments that didn't pan out, bought into this NFT thing that turned out to be a rug pull. Credit cards are maxed. I've been selling your stuff to make minimum payments so my credit doesn't completely tank. The kitchen went dead silent. You could hear the refrigerator humming, the clock ticking on the wall. Mom and Dad co-signed on the cards, Jake continued, picking at his thumbnail like he was discussing the weather. So when I told them I needed help, they saw the album sales as me taking initiative. Right, Dad? Dad's jaw was tight. A muscle twitched in his cheek. We're proud that you're trying to fix your mistakes instead of just asking us to bail you out. You're taking responsibility. I looked between the three of them. You're proud that he gambled away thousands of dollars and stole from me to pay for it? We're proud that he's being responsible about his debt, Mom said firmly, that he came to us instead of hiding it, that he found a solution. My brain was working too fast, numbers clicking into place. 6,000 from my albums, but his debt is 12,000. How'd you cover the other 6? Silence. The kind that fills a room like water, heavy and suffocating. Dad? He wouldn't look at me, stared at a spot on the wall just past my shoulder. Mom was suddenly very interested in the pattern on the countertop. How did you cover the other $6,000? I asked again, slower. Dad cleared his throat. Once, twice. We withdrew from your college fund, just temporarily, until Jake gets back on his feet. The floor dropped out from under me. Everything went cold. How much? We'll replace it before you need it, Mom said quickly, words tumbling out. You're not going to grad school for another 2 years. Jake's situation was an emergency, a real emergency. How much did you take from my college fund? Dad finally met my eyes. All of it. The number hit me like a physical blow. $15,000? Grandma's college fund? The one she set up when I was born? It was just sitting there, Mom said, and her voice was taking on that pleading tone she used when she wanted me to understand, to be reasonable. Jake needed help immediately. We were going to put it back. We still will. You'll never even know it was gone. I know now, I said. Those are just things, Dad said, and he actually sounded like he believed it. Money, albums, they're replaceable. You can always get more money, but Jake's financial future is his life, his credit score, his ability to get loans, to buy a house someday, to have a future. That's real. Your albums are just hobbies, just entertainment. And there it was, laid out plain. Jake's future was sacred, untouchable, worth any sacrifice. My past 3 years of collecting, my grandmother's college fund, my privacy, my trust, my sanity, all of it was just stuff, communal family property they could redistribute however they wanted to support their son. I went upstairs without another word, packed a bag with shaking hands, threw in clothes, my laptop, my phone charger, the 4 albums I'd managed to buy back. Called my coworker Priya while I zipped up the duffel. She answered on the second ring. Can I stay with you tonight? Of course. What happened? Are you okay? I'll tell you when I get there. I was walking down the stairs, bag over my shoulder, when Mom appeared in the hallway. She grabbed my arm. Her fingers dug in hard enough to bruise. Where are you going? Out. You can't just leave. We need to work this out as a family. We need to sit down and talk about this like adults. I pulled my arm free, probably harder than I needed to. We're not a family. Families don't do this to each other. Don't be childish, Dad called from the kitchen. Running away doesn't solve anything. I walked out the door. I stayed at Priya's apartment that night. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Text after text after text. Mom saying I was overreacting, that we could fix this if I'd just come home and talk like a reasonable person. Voicemails from Jake that started apologetic and ended angry. If you really cared about family, you'd understand I needed help. You're making this about you when I'm the one suffering here. I'm the one with debt. I'm the one whose life is falling apart. Calls from Dad asking when I was coming home, like I'd just stepped out for milk. Like nothing major had happened. I blocked all of them around midnight. 2 days later, my grandmother called. I almost didn't answer, but Grandma Joan never called unless it was important. She was a text to schedule a phone call kind of person. Sweetheart, I'm seeing some concerning posts on social media. Your mother's asking people to pray for family unity. Your aunt shared something about prodigal children. What's going on? I told her everything, the whole story from start to finish. The stolen albums, Jake's gambling, the documented photos of me losing my mind, the emptied college fund. Every single word while sitting on Priya's bathroom floor with the door closed so my crying wouldn't wake her up. The line went quiet for so long I thought she'd hung up. I pulled the phone away from my ear to check. Grandma, I set up that college fund with specific legal documents, she said, and her voice had gone ice cold, the way it used to sound when she'd call my grandfather out for drinking too much at Christmas. Your parents aren't authorized to access it until you turn 21 or begin graduate school. I made sure of that specifically so they couldn't do exactly what they just did. My heart stopped. Actually stopped. You have copies of those documents? I have everything. I'm 3 hours away. I'll be there tomorrow afternoon. Don't call your parents. Don't warn them. I want this to be a surprise. She hung up. Grandma Joan showed up the next evening right at 6. I watched from Priya's window as she got out of her car with a leather folder thick with paperwork. She was wearing her church outfit, the navy blue suit she saved for funerals and court appearances. She didn't hug me when I met her at the door, didn't ask how I was doing or if I'd eaten. She just said, "Get in the car. We're going to your parents' house." The whole drive there, she didn't say a word, just gripped the steering wheel with both hands like she was trying to strangle it. Her knuckles were white. I'd never seen her this angry, not even when my uncle crashed her car back in 2019. My parents' faces when they opened the door and saw Grandma Joan standing there with that folder could have been a meme. Dad actually took a step back. Mom's smile froze on her face. "Joan, what a surprise." "Sit down," Grandma said, walking past him into the living room. Not asked, told, the way you'd tell a dog. They sat on the couch. Jake wandered in from the kitchen with a sandwich, saw Grandma, and tried to back away. She pointed at the love seat. "You too." He sat. She opened the folder and placed 3 separate documents on the coffee table. Each one had little sticky tabs marking specific sections. "These are the legal agreements you signed when I established the college fund. This paragraph here," she pointed with one perfectly manicured nail, "explicitly states that the fund cannot be accessed by anyone except the beneficiary, which is my granddaughter, until she reaches 21 or begins graduate school, whichever comes first. Do you remember signing this?" Dad's face went pale, actual color draining. "Joan, we can explain. I don't want explanations. I want to know how you thought you could violate a legal contract without consequences." "We were going to put it back," Mom said weakly. "Were you?" Grandma turned to the second document. "Because according to the bank records I pulled, you've been making withdrawals for 11 months. Small amounts at first. 500 here, 1,000 there, then larger amounts. The final withdrawal of 6,000 was 3 weeks ago. When exactly were you planning to replace it?" Nobody answered. "You violated a legal contract. You stole $15,000 from your daughter. You enabled your son's gambling addiction and called it parenting." Her voice never rose. Didn't need to. Each word landed like a hammer. "I want an explanation for how stealing from one child to fund the other's self-destruction is being a parent." Mom's eyes were filling with tears, the kind she used when she wanted sympathy. "We were trying to help both of them. Jake was drowning in debt. We couldn't just watch him destroy his future. What were we supposed to do, just let him fail?" "Yes," Grandma said simply. "That's exactly what you were supposed to do. Let him face the consequences of his choices." "Easy for you to say," Dad shot back. "You don't have to watch your child suffer." "I watched my son, your brother, struggle with addiction for 15 years, Grandma said quietly. "I never once stole from my other children to enable him. I let him hit rock bottom. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. He's been sober for 8 years now, because I let him face consequences." Silence. "So you destroyed hers instead?" Grandma continued. "You took money I gave her, money that was legally protected, and you gave it to him for gambling debts?" "It's not the same," Dad said. "She's always been more responsible. She'll be fine. She always lands on her feet. Jake needed us. So responsibility gets punished and recklessness gets rewarded. Is that your parenting strategy?" Jake, who'd been sitting on the stairs this whole time trying to be invisible, finally spoke up. His voice was defensive, that same whiny tone he'd used since he was 6. "This is what family does. We support each other when someone's struggling. I made mistakes, yeah, but you don't just abandon people over mistakes. That's not what family means." Grandma turned to look at him. Really look at him. "Have you paid back a single dollar of the $21,000 you've cost your sister?" Jake's mouth opened, closed. His eyes darted to our parents. "I'm working on it. I'm trying to get a job and—" "That's not what I asked. Have you paid back any money? Yes or no?" "No." "Have you apologized to her?" Silence. "Have you stopped gambling?" More silence. "You've raised a parasite," Grandma said, turning back to my parents. And you've enabled him to destroy his sister's future because it was easier than holding him accountable. Because saying no to him is harder than stealing from her. Mom started crying for real now, mascara running down her cheeks. We were trying to help both children. Why can't anyone see that? We love them both equally. We're doing our best. Equally, Grandma repeated, and she actually laughed. It wasn't a nice sound. You bought him a car. You paid his fraternity fees. You gave him money for his mistakes. You emptied her college fund to cover his gambling debts. Yes, that sounds very equal. She didn't need a car as much, Dad started. Stop, Grandma said. Just stop talking. You're making it worse. She gathered up her documents, tapped them against the table to straighten them, and slid them back into the folder. I'll be contacting my attorney tomorrow morning about the stolen funds. You'll be hearing from him by the end of the week. I suggest you get a lawyer. We left. I sat in her car while she drove away from that house, watching it disappear in the side mirror. I didn't cry. Couldn't. Everything felt numb. Are you hungry? Grandma asked after about 10 minutes. Not really. We're getting food anyway. You look like you haven't eaten in days. She took me to this little diner she liked, ordered me pancakes and eggs even though it was 7 at night, sat across from me while I pushed food around my plate. I'm sorry, she said quietly. For what? For not seeing it sooner. For trusting them with something so important. It's not your fault. No, but I should have checked. Should have made sure. I knew what they were like. I just hoped. She trailed off, stared out the window. I hoped they'd grown, changed, become better people. That's on me. 3 days later, my parents showed up at Priya's apartment. I was making coffee when the doorbell rang. Priya looked through the peephole, looked at me, mouthed, "It's them." I watched them through the peephole for a full minute before opening the door. They looked tired. Mom had bags under her eyes. Dad's shirt was wrinkled like he'd slept in it. "We need to talk," Dad said. I didn't invite them in, just stood in the doorway. Priya hovered near the kitchen, pretending to make coffee but really making sure I was okay, being a good friend. "We've made a decision," Mom said, like she was announcing something good. "We're selling the house." I waited. "We'll have about $40,000 after the mortgage is paid off," Dad continued. "We're using it to pay off Jake's remaining debts and start fresh. We wanted you to know we're doing this to make things right, to prove family comes first." "Okay," I said slowly. "We'll split the proceeds between both of you," Mom added quickly. $20,000 each. So it's fair. Everyone gets the same amount. I did the math in my head. It wasn't hard. Jake already got $15,000 from my college fund, plus $6,000 from my albums. That's $21,000. Splitting the house money means he gets $41,000 total and I get $20. Dad shifted his weight from foot to foot. Uncomfortable. We can't punish Jake now by giving him less. That wouldn't be fair to him after everything he's been through. He's suffered enough. Everything he's been through. I repeated flatly. "We were actually hoping," Mom said, and I knew from her tone, from the way she wouldn't quite meet my eyes, this was the real reason they came. That you'd consider giving your $20,000 to Jake, so he could use the full $40,000 to completely clear his debts and start over with a clean slate. Then we could all move forward without this financial stress hanging over the family. Priya dropped a mug in the kitchen. It shattered on the tile. The sound was loud in the quiet apartment. "You want me to give Jake my share of the money?" I said, just to make sure I was hearing this right. Just to make absolutely sure I understood what they were asking. "It would mean so much to him," Mom said, and her voice was soft, pleading. "And it would show real forgiveness, real family love. It would prove you're the bigger person." Dad nodded eagerly, like she'd said something profound. "You've always been more responsible with money. You don't need it as much as he does. You'll figure out grad school somehow, you always do. You're smart, you're capable. But Jake needs this chance or he'll never recover. He'll be crushed under this debt forever. He needs a fresh start," Mom added. "We all do. This could be a new beginning for our family." They stood there in Priya's doorway, waiting for my answer like they'd asked me to pass the salt at dinner. Like this was a reasonable request between reasonable people. I started laughing. Couldn't help it. The sound came out harsh and sharp, and maybe a little unhinged. Priya was staring at me from the kitchen. My parents looked confused. "Do you hear yourselves?" I asked when I could breathe again. Dad's face hardened. "This is what family does. Family helps family. Since you're better with money, you should want to help your brother. It's the right thing to do. Jake destroyed my collection, gambled away thousands of dollars. You stole my entire college fund, and you want me to give him another $20,000? We want you to be part of this family," Mom said quietly. "We want you to choose love over money, choose us over things. That's what this is really about. Do you love your family or not?" "No." The word hung in the air like smoke. "No?" Dad repeated, like he'd never heard the word before. "No. I will never give Jake $1. I will never help him again. I'm done with all of you." Mom's face changed. The pleading expression vanished, melted away like wax, replaced with something cold and hard and ugly. "If that's your choice, then you're choosing to abandon your family when they need you most. Don't expect us to be here when you change your mind." "I won't change my mind." Dad stood up straighter, pulled his shoulders back. "We can't have a relationship with someone so selfish and unforgiving. If you're not willing to help your brother, if you're going to hold his mistakes over his head forever, then you're not the daughter we raised. You're not the person we thought you were." "Good," I said, "because the daughter you raised would have let you walk all over her forever." They left. Just turned and walked down the hallway without another word. I stood in Priya's doorway for a long time after they disappeared around the corner, watched the empty hallway like they might come back. They didn't. "You okay?" Priya asked softly from behind me. "Yeah," I said, and I was surprised to realize I meant it. "Yeah, I think I am." 6 months went by. I got a new job, better paying, started saving again, found a few more of my albums on resale sites and bought them back one at a time. Started rebuilding. Then I got an email. Subject line, reconsidering. I hovered my mouse over it for a solid minute. Part of me wanted to read it, wanted to know what excuse they'd come up with this time. But a bigger part of me knew it didn't matter. Nothing they said would change anything. I deleted it without reading. 2 days later, Grandma Joan called. I transferred $10,000 into your new account, the one they can't touch. Grandma, you don't have to. I want to. I set it up with even stricter legal protections this time. Trust documents, verification requirements, the whole thing. Only you can access it. I made absolutely sure of it. Thank you, I said, and my voice cracked. You deserved better, she said quietly. You deserved parents who protected you instead of sacrificing you. I'm sorry you didn't get that. We talked for an hour, about nothing and everything. She told me about her garden, about the book club she'd joined, about her neighbor's terrible dog, normal things, family things, the kind of conversation I'd never really had with my parents. I never spoke to my parents or Jake again.